GameStop Retro.
There's a lot of pros and cons to it. I want to say mostly cons.
I just don't know what they're thinking.
We have these 20-year-olds now who grew up when Xbox 360 and Wii were a thing. They're nostalgic for that stuff now.
Wii! For real!
And that's probably what a majority of these GameStops will be filled with.
Some stores back in the day would throw away boxes and stuff, and like if that sort of thing happens, then we got a real problem.
Will they preserve the games? Will they give fair market value? Will they check and clean and make sure those games work?
There's a trust that's been broken for me with GameStop as a company. I don't trust them to treat retro the way that it should be.
I've been with the company for 4 years now, and I haven't, seen or heard of anything like this.
Visit Patreon/MyRetroLife to get full unedited episodes. Hey, it's your buddy Tyler coming at you with a brand new video here on My Retro Life, and I've got with me my friends Brian and Seth. I myself worked at GameStop back in the day. As many of you know, I put out a video talking about my time there. Recently, GameStop announced that they're going to be rebranding, at least internally, some of their stores in various cities across the country as GameStop Retro. Now, immediately I was kind of like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. But then I thought about it a little longer and I was like, that might not be a good thing for the retro gaming scene. So I figured we'd talk about it. And Brian, I'll start with you.
There's a lot of pros and cons to it. I want to say mostly cons, but your average GameStop worker is going to be a 20-year-old, and a lot of these consoles are much older than 20-year-olds. And so my first thought was there's going to be a lot of this, and it's happened in the past where a repro gets sold to GameStop, and the 20-year-old unknowingly will buy it.
And that's unfortunate because it's already an epidemic out there on eBay and all these other places. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm at a gaming convention and I see these repros lying around, and it's like you literally have to, even on common games, sometimes now have the thing that opens up the cartridge, the screwdriver, and it's like, I shouldn't have to carry around one of those. Come on. So we definitely need to quell the problem with piracy. And to your point, I don't know if GameStop's going to be up on that. I don't think it's not going to be at the forefront of their corporate company. It's all about the ever almighty dollar. Seth, your thoughts?
Well, I've seen the nuances of what it takes to operate a legitimate retro game store. I don't know if GameStop's trying to grab what's left over in people's closets and see if they can turn a buck on it again, but I'm concerned about the GameStop history, not the original Funko and FuncoLand history, but the GameStop history of what they've done to games by tossing out boxes, by throwing away instruction manuals. It's kind of like, I was thinking about this before, it's kind of like somebody who owns a piece of rare art or a Ferrari or something like that, vintage cars. When you take on that responsibility as a collector, you kind of hopefully have that, you feel like it's your job to make sure that these are preserved.
Yeah.
They're taking responsibility for it. Kind of like, it's just like if you adopt a pet, you have to take responsibility for that pet. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think of it like that, as you're adopting these games from the wild. I actually will say that I rescued it.
You're a game rescuer.
Yeah, I'm a rescuer. I'm a retro rescue ranger, so to speak. This is my original copy of the Game Informer, which they just apparently, I didn't know they were still making this, but apparently they just quit making.
They announced recently that it's over.
It's
done.
over for
They
that.
fired the staff. At the same time, they start talking about this retro GameStop brand. It's almost like, why did you have to get rid of Game Informer to... I just don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what's going on. My only thought maybe is that the retail stores that were failing, the ones that really weren't doing well,
trying to breathe new life into it.
Exactly. Sales
older people into the new gaming.
Exactly. Retail across the board is failing. It's dying.
I could see two sides to it. Physical is dying for PS5. PS5 and Xbox for sure.
Yeah, this is the end of the line. There's no more coming.
So their storefront, unless they're just going to become Funko Pop salesmen, which they fill their store with pretty heavily, they need to have some video game inventory.
I mean, they could rebrand it FuncoLand.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Oh, wait. Hold on.
Hey.
All right!
to have fun? Yeah. Okay.
I think we might be seeing a second generation coming of retro. Like, we have these 20-year-olds now who grew up when Xbox 360 and Wii were a thing. They're nostalgic for that stuff now.
We got a Wii! For real! I'm not joking! Look at this!
Oh my gosh, you did get a Wii.
So I think there's a lot of that stuff out there, and that's probably what a majority of these GameStops will be filled with is Wii, Xbox 360,
You're right.
PS3, DS.
It's not going to be what you see behind us.
It's not going to be NES. It's not going to be Super. Some of that stuff will make it in there.
I think they also see that while there's a decrease in retail modern stuff, there's kind of been an increase in retro interest and all these retro game mom and pop shops that we all know and love. We have friends that own these places, retro gaming conventions. And I think they're trying to jump on the retro train, but maybe a little too late. I think they're...
Didn't they have retro for a while?
Yeah, they did.
But it all depends on what they consider retro. If it's, 10 years ago is their idea of retro?
Yeah, but to Brian's point, the kids these days are looking towards their youth. Their 20-somethings.
Yeah.
The 20-somethings these days have their retro, which is like 360.
Yeah, they're so young. They would come and talk to us and be like, "You were born in the 1900s." Like, they're to them that's ages ago.
What we have behind us belongs in a museum, and maybe we do too.
I'll take her. Bring her up. GameStop.
They got to recognize there is a market for it. Like, you go on Facebook Market, you go on eBay, and this stuff's pricey, And
it's probably NCAA Football 14 is probably that thing that did it when they saw that one game that they probably threw out copies of.
It was like $140 a copy at one point.
What are they going to do, and how are they going to treat these games? Like, say somebody comes in with Sega CD games. Are they going to go with like the some stores back in the day would throw away boxes and stuff, and like if that sort of thing happens, then we got a real problem, because there are collectors out there like ourselves, and it's like, are they going to put enough care in and understanding? Whoever is basically running this program and dishing it out, they need to understand how to do it, because it could easily go south.
I wonder, are they putting into consideration CIB versus loose? In a lot of cases, the box might be even worth more than the game.
Yeah.
Like, I think especially if they want to make money, they should know that going into this. They better not be throwing away boxes. I mean, for one, for preservation's sake. Two, there's a large amount of money that can be made if they're inventorying that stuff the proper way. It might make it where if I feel like I want a game at market price, and I don't feel like throwing the dice for eBay, waiting for that to come in and paying eBay fees and shipping, that maybe, hey, I just need a market copy of this. I'll just go to GameStop and grab it. Or, that would be very convenient versus, hey, let me find and meet this shady guy on Facebook Market who might mug me,
Yeah, well, the same thing, like there's the companies out there online, the DK Oldies and places like that, where we've seen people on YouTube tell stories about the junk they've got. I saw my sister's in-laws bought stuff for their kids on DK Oldies, and the NES games were all broken, and the games wouldn't even fit. I had to help get them back together. So if a company that can be doing that for as long, and we know that still happens, that's that, and their job is specifically those retro games. Yeah. This company is a little different. Now, will they preserve the games? Will they give fair market value? Will they check and clean and make sure those games work? Will they pass along working stuff? Will they the stuff that the retro game stores do? Because, as my friend Greg would say, I sell this stuff, it's my name on the line. If it doesn't work, I have to replace it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where you get a little tricky, because I feel like a corporate company like GameStop are not going to have that sort of attention to detail and also heart behind making sure this stuff, unless they've put somebody in charge where they're like,
will they do that?
I hope, of course, and I'm, I try to be this person who always thinks positively about how things are going to go, but I think there's a trust that's been broken for me with GameStop as a company.
More than once.
Yeah. I mean, like, I just think that I don't trust them to treat retro the way that it should be. I feel like Indiana Jones in this sort of scenario.
Belongs in a museum.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? Y'all aren't going to really care about this like they should be cared about. And it even makes me a little sad seeing FuncoLand, these old slips right here. Because we're talking about this, and at the same time, these are two old relics of GameStop's past. Of course, GameStop buying out FuncoLand back in the day. And, you know, it's...
You were around then, weren't you? Did you work for FuncoLand, or had it already happened?
I worked at EB Games.
Okay.
And then
EB Games, Babbage's, all those old software, etc. All those old places that had games that you could go to.
If GameStop wants to move in the right direction with this rebranding of certain stores, and really, you got to win the retro gamers. You got to win the people that are going to be your client, your customer. I mean, so I would say take a note from successful retro game shops, retro game conventions. Employ people that are going to care about this stuff, and bring in those people by really making it seem like you care about. Like, put arcade cabinets in your stores, old school arcade cabinets. You know, do stuff that shows that you're trying. Don't just retrofit, pun intended, an old GameStop that's been like failing or something, and just put retro around, and nothing on the inside's changed. It's just the walls are filled with retro games. Like, that's
the cabinet full of retro games. Yeah,
that's you know. So you know, I think that it could be great. Like, I really do. There's a vision I can see for it being really awesome, but I just don't know. You guys, if you're watching GameStop CEO people, prove us wrong. Prove me wrong. Well, thank you guys for being here. Seth, where can they find you, man?
Well, if you're interested in video game stuff and other odd stuff on YouTube, you can check out my channel, Dr. Gamebender. That's Dr. Gamebender. You'll see videos of things like this where I go through them.
Very, very cool. And of course, Brian, you've seen him on My Retro Life. He's in the old videos that Dad filmed back in the day. And of course, I'm Tyler with My Retro Life. And if this is your first time to the channel, do consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for being here. GameStop, I hope they do the right thing. We'll catch you next time.